More than 1 in 10 Americans moved in 2020. Many of them are wealthy. They're buying houses fast and paying a lot for them. It's all contributing to the hottest market since the housing crisis in 2006. No matter what kind of house you're looking for, the price of a mid-range one of those likely went up by more than 20% in 2020. We looked at data from Zillow, Redfin, the U.S. Postal Service, and, you guessed it, the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, and figured out which places saw the most people come, the most people leave, and which of these changes might be permanent. High-cost coastal cities have been losing more people to suburbs and smaller cities since about 2016. The pandemic turbocharged that trend. The biggest losers have been New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C., major cities that had to shut down bars, restaurants, and stores. Urban neighborhoods lost an average of 276,000 people every month from March to September, according to one estimate.
Most of the time, it's people leaving the core of the city for a suburb or a neighboring town, people going from like New York to the Hudson Valley or going from San Francisco to Vallejo, for example. Other times, people are moving to a new metro area. So think about San Franciscans moving to Sacramento or New Yorkers moving to Philadelphia.
New York City lost a net 200,000 people, mostly from higher-income neighborhoods like the Upper West Side, Tribeca, and Dumbo. And if that New Yorker didn't move upstate, they may have gone to Florida, which is now home to 64,000 more Big Apple transplants. On the other side of the country, California's population dropped for the first time since its founding in 1850 by 182,000. Nearly 110,000 left Los Angeles alone, heading mostly to San Diego. If they went out of state, they likely left for Dallas, Las Vegas, or Phoenix. But the pandemic wasn't the only thing driving movement in 2020. Immigration rates dropped across the country, mostly affecting major cities like New York and LA. The big winner? The Sun Belt, especially places like Phoenix, Arizona, Austin, Texas, and a number of cities in Florida. These moves are already reflected in the rising housing prices.
I'm actually running out of words to describe the market. It's light speed, it's insanity, but it seems to be in a healthy way.
Millennials are a big driver of this movement as they get older and prepare to settle down.
Right now, there's 5 million more people aged 25 to 34 than there were 10 years ago. That is the kind of key tipping point age range when Americans go from being majority renters to majority homeowners.
First-time buyers bought nearly 1/3 of all homes sold in 2020. If you moved, there's a good chance you're a millennial, but you also might just be rich.
Places like the Hamptons or West Palm Beach or Aspen or Lake Tahoe, just to name a few of these really highly desired vacation destinations, did see a huge increase in move-ins relative to a normal year.
There's a lot about the way this pandemic-driven recession hit that's surprising.
Periods of recession tend to actually reduce mobility and reduce moves.
And vacation properties don't usually get more expensive. Also, housing inventory is near an all-time low, in part because the price of lumber hit an all-time high. But in the less surprising category,
that had a disproportionate impact on low-income workers and not on the higher-income professional services employees.
Indeed, more than half of all pandemic job losses came from industries with low average wages. That, in turn, could prevent those affected from being able to buy a house.
People who have been able to keep their jobs, who have stock portfolios, they've seen their wealth increase. And those are the people who are really driving the housing market right now. We're probably going to see more renters who aren't able to take advantage of higher home values.
Speaking of recessions, let's take a better look at Phoenix to get a better idea of who is driving all this movement. The city was considered the epicenter of the housing crisis. Homes in the downtown area lost more than half of their value, and Arizona's foreclosure rate was second in the nation. Zillow says it's now the fastest appreciating major housing market, and experts say it doesn't look like a bubble this time.
Arizona can kind of be thought of as the intersection of the Sun Belt and the Intermountain West, and that's why it keeps popping up as one of the most frequent destinations for movers in America.
These movers often come from more expensive markets. They bring higher budgets with them, which can price out local buyers in places like Phoenix, Austin, or Las Vegas.
They're buying it sight unseen. They're putting tons of money as an earnest deposit. They're waiving appraisals. They're waiving inspections.
Redfin estimates that nationwide, 63% of people who bought a home placed an offer without seeing the property in person.
I started looking, going to these open houses. If you want this house, you've got to come in with an offer that's at least $20,000 to $50,000 more than what they're asking. And that just blew my mind. I'm like, nope, I'm out of here. Goodbye.
Redfin says at least 25% of its users look to move to a different metro area over the pandemic. Let's say you want to beat this market and head where homes are still affordable but gaining in value. Mid-sized cities like Chattanooga, Tennessee, Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Winston-Salem, North Carolina have home values rising more than 13% per year, but they're still somewhat affordable. The housing market shows no signs of slowing, according to all the experts we spoke with. And they warn the long-term impact of pandemic movement will depend largely on how long people can work from home.
There is potential for not turning Cleveland and Columbus into boom towns, but at least offsetting some of that geographic inequality that has been kind of set in place over the last couple decades.
But some movers are already showing buyer's remorse. Nearly 2/3 of millennials say they regret buying their current homes. They are among the many asking themselves, should I head back to the city?